Brian Wilson, Mary Catherine Ham, Brian Neiman, today's newsmakers, and you, the Morning Majority. 105.9 FM. AM 630. WMAL.
We are happy to announce we are doing it again. Yes, it is our annual Fisher House Radiothon. You have helped us out so much over the years, and we're asking you to help out again. Here's the pledge number, 202-686-7771, 202-686-7771. Fisher House is a great charity. It is a home away from home for wounded warriors and their families, and we've raised so much money over the years. And we are pleased to be joined today by Montel Williams. Yes, the Montel Williams.
Thank you so much for that introduction. But the Montel Williams, who is a board member of Fisher House, because that's the most important part of my introduction.
And how did you get involved in Fisher House and get going?
It's really kind of crazy. I have, over the course of the last 5 years now, a lot of people don't know about my military service, but I have 22 years in the service. I was in both the Marine Corps and the Navy. I'm a graduate of the Naval Academy. The entire time that I did my show, while I was on the air for the entire 17 years, I'm one of the only people, I think, on television that did at least 2 shows, dedicated 2 hours a year to the military when there was no war. So, I was doing this, and then my show stopped, and, because I've been doing so many things, I've been in and out of the Gulf, doing shows about troops there, during the first war. When the show stopped and I didn't have a daily venue to give back, I started going down to visit the troops at Walter Reed and Bethesda. And one of my visits there, I literally was introduced to the Fisher House and really wasn't aware of Fisher House, because one of the things that I found out, and part of the reason why I'm now involved, is because as great an organization as this is, they are so humble, they don't do a lot to actually promote themselves. And so when I found out about the good work that they did, the first thing I did was ask, how could I be involved? And since then, they asked me to become a board member, and I have been doing as much as I can, and I will continue to do as much as I can to raise awareness, but raise money for this cause.
Well, let's talk about the charity, because some people may be listening for the first time, not know what the Fisher House is or what it does. It basically is a place where family members can go and stay for extended period of time if their loved one has been injured in battle or injured in any way. And it also gives them a great place to, deal with the problems that they're dealing with other family members, because it's one giant communal house versus a sterile hotel.
And maybe we ought to paint a picture that makes people really understand. This is a beautiful home.
No, it is absolutely gorgeous.
Beautiful home with a really large kitchen, a large family room, a large dining room, the areas that people congregate. And you're right, it's for veterans and their families, and if you kind of want to liken it to the Ronald McDonald House, it's kind of like that for our VA. And the thing that's so good about it, when you say they could stay for extended period of time, there are people who've stayed in Fisher Houses for close to a year and over a year while their family member or loved one recovers. But then they also get the camaraderie of other people who are there dealing with like issues with, family members who are in the hospital. They may have a stay there where there be 3 or 4 generations of service members and their families there, all being able to kind of lend a little healing hand, a little camaraderie when the spirit could be broken. So to go there and to see it firsthand is I think it could light up a lot of people's hearts if they just reached out to the one that's in their community. Right now there are 55 Fisher Houses. We'd like there to be over 120 Fisher Houses by the time we're done, so that we have enough of them covering every VA hospital in the country. And, what a lot of Americans don't recognize is that, 2 or 3 years ago, it was very vogue during election time for everybody to run around going, I support the troops! I support the troops! I listen to these rallies right now and some of these political events, and I support the troops, yeah. Well, it's really good when it's lip service, but when lip service isn't enough, Fisher House is reaching way beyond that.
This is a way to support the troops. 202-686-7771 is the pledge number, 202-686-7771.
Well, in visiting friends who are veterans at military hospitals and seeing them, I've seen folks who try to recuperate and heal without family near them, and folks who have done it with the help of the Fisher House, with their families in them. Tell me about the difference, about what the difference is in the way a person heals.
Well, we have figured it out, and I think as the military understands that by the time these conflicts are over, we will have more surviving wounded members of conflict alive in the history of this country. Right now, there are 490,000 applications for services for disability right now before the VA. 490,000!
That's amazing.
You know, we live in a society where we have an entire generation from 18 to 27 who have seen the horrors of war but now want to become a contributing member of our society. And if something goes wrong, they get injured, they have the right to go back and be treated at a VA hospital. To go there alone and not have anybody else to support you, you know, your healing is as much in the heart and in the mind as it is in the physical. And so to be able to put our soldiers and sailors and airmen and Marines together in places where their families can get the support that they need, and we forget about it. We say, thank you for your service. We're talking to the guy in the uniform, but what about the 7 people that are with him? Wife, mother-in-law, 2 children. We need to thank them for their service, and this is really an organization that does that.
I would imagine that over the years you have seen some real personal stories. Can you recount one that just sort of sticks in your mind about how the Fisher House made a difference in someone's life?
How about last week? The last week and a half ago, I was at over at Walter Reed visiting troops. I go every month. Until this is done, I will do this, period. Between the 6 soldiers that I saw, I'm not kidding, 13 limbs. Okay? Right there.
It's emotional.
Young man, I'm sorry. First off, these guys look up out of their beds with smiles on their faces, thanking me for coming to see them, and thanking me for letting them serve me. What?
Wow.
But there's a guy there, a young man there, whose mother and his fiance are staying in Fisher House right now. He's a double amputee, and they're going back and forth. And immediately, first I'll walk in, he gives me a coin from his unit, so I gave him a coin from Fisher House. He goes, Fisher House, hey, Mom! Boom, Mom! She comes in the room, and they start smiling about the fact that they're there right now. So that's a life that's being changed today. Changes mind.
Yeah,
I can tell that it really, really touches you, but I mean, it really does so much good for people.
Well, you know, it saddens me because I'll go back to how much time does it take? You know, I'm here in D.C. on business for other things. It takes me, 4 hours to go over to Walter Reed, spend time with some soldiers and sailors, lift somebody's spirit, and walk out the door. And there's so many people who are in a position like myself that could be doing this on a daily basis, but we've started to forget. Remember, the country's all caught up in the fact that we are in an economic crisis, and okay, I got it, but the fact that we can talk about it is because of those guys laying in those beds over there.
You're darn right.
And we say, well, the war's ending, the war's over, but the war doesn't end for them, especially the ones that don't have arms, don't have legs, and will have to deal with that for the rest of their life, and that's very difficult.
Do you recognize we have the largest number of surviving amputees since the Civil War? These are women, men who want to be contributing members of our society. They want to be back in this society. They're going to VA to get fixed so they can go to work. And they're going to be sitting in radio stations like this. They're going to be sitting in office buildings beside us. And not only will they never forget this war, but neither will we when we see them walk in. So let's remember that they also don't want to be treated different. They just want to be treated with respect and acknowledged for the abilities that they have, not the fact that they've lost any ability.
Well, thank you very much for all you do, for coming in today, and the future work that you will do with the Fisher House Foundation. It is a fantastic foundation.